In this video, I'll be doing an in-depth explanation on the journals such as the purchases journal, your returns journal, to get an overview of how you can put it in a ledger. So the first thing is trade payables, this amount 35,421. You know for a fact you're going to say credit trade payables because everything over here you're purchasing on credit. So you owe people money. So trade payables are like your credit is controlled, so you owe people money. So it has to increase. So you know you're going to credit this amount. But what do you debit? Well, you debit the purchases amount and this amount of your 2799. The problem is when you say credit trade payables and then now you have to say debit, you can't say debit purchases. But this 2799 is not a purchase, it's not an inventory, it's an office equipment. So to put this and this into like a word, we say sundry purchases, right? Sundry means like any purchase. So debit sundry purchases and credit trade payables. So if you look at the credit side of trade payables, you should have this amount. Perfect. So September 30th sundry purchases 35,421. So they got the amount from here. So that's fine. So that's how you post from the purchases journal to the trade payables account. If you have the purchases account, you will obviously see it'll be debits. On the debit side of the purchases ledger, you'll have trade payables as a contra and the amount 35,421. Okay. Now on the CPJ, the way you put this in the trade payables account is this. Ask yourself, what is CPJ when dealing with trade payables? You are paying money, right? So you're paying money to those people who you owe money to. So your trade payables will decrease. So straight away you know it's debit trade payables and what you credit, bank. Anything on CPJ you credit bank. So debit trade payables. So on the debit side of trade payables, you should have a contra of bank of the amount 22,586. There we go, 22,586 for the contra bank. Now if we go to the purchases returns journal, this is where you return your items that you bought on credit. So you know for a fact this trade payables amount is going to decrease. So debit, debit. So when you debit trade payables, you're going to credit what's going out, your purchases that you did. So you can see purchases and brackets returned, right? So on the debit side of trade payables, you should see this amount 300, which we see, and the contrast should be purchases and returns. Purchases, returns, same thing, right? Depends how you want to say it. Now, what's the most interesting part over here is after you do this, you can basically balance the trade payables amount. And as you could see, well, the balance brought down was the balance which they give you in the beginning of the year. Okay, they gave it somewhere at the beginning, but they will give it to you. And then from that now you can do your carry down, balance brought down, and basically how much you owe people. So that is how you transfer all these journals over here into your trade payables account. Now, most of the time they don't need this, okay? But you'll get something, an info that says like, you got an amount of purchases of like 32,622 from the purchases journal. So you might just picture this purchase journal and how we do transactions relating to it. Now remember, similarly now we're doing trade payables, trade receivables. Instead of purchases journal, we get sales journal. Instead of we still get CPJ. Instead of CPJ we get CRJ. And purchases journal will get sales return journal. And it's exactly the same concept, exactly the same, okay? So that is how you relate to these journals and how to post on them. Remember, when anytime a credit transaction happens, it first goes into these journals. Then it gets posted to the ledger. Then the ledger to a trial balance. So the first thing you need to know is it gets posted to these journals.